Okay, so as I said, today what we have to discuss is based on APIs. Okay, so uh, as per you, what is API? Hmm? Okay, we have to start with discussion only. What is API? Application program interface, right? But this is only the like full form. What about the meaning, or what understanding do you have of APIs? Anybody who is having any idea about this? Hmm? Nobody. Okay. Okay, fine. I think we have discussed about APIs as and when we were talking about the JSON parsing and all, right? When we spoke about JSON, I think we spoke about APIs as well, right? Isn't it? Okay. If you don't remember, fine.
Like
That cricket example,
API
right?
through
Yeah. Yeah.
A-
If you have example, you can say.
like API through two application communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
it is about communication only. Yes, true. So basically, it's all about, like, at times when you see in practical life, you won't find that a single website doing all the job. Okay, so it is basically like one website might try to get some data from another website, and it's all like interdependent. Okay, so nowadays when you have the globalization, nobody tries to do everything, like, nobody tries to be self-sufficient, but rather try to be more interdependent. Okay, so API is also is kind of a way of doing the same thing. Okay, so okay, it is not program but programming. Okay, so what we are doing is we'll be trying to get data from another website. From, I mean, so like I might have told you an example before, right? So maybe I gave you an example of the cricket match. Okay, so and maybe a weather report one also, right? And even forget about all these things. Now, if I go for my browser, okay, just if I go to Google browser, when I click on some when I search for some given thing, okay, maybe this API only, if I search, so what exactly am I doing as per you? And do you think that it is my browser that is getting me the things on its own? Is it?
No.
So no, right? So what is happening is, on my browser, I will basically, like, request. I send a request. Okay, using my browser. Browser will help me in sending a request to that corresponding server from where it is. No, where this related stuff is. Okay, and this server will send me back a response. Okay, so server is supposed to send a response in return. Okay, so that's how the entire process work. So it is all, response and request. That is what is happening. So frankly speaking, it is not the browser which is getting me the answer. Okay, I mean, it is not the answer is not lying with the browser. Browser is actually going for searching. I mean, it is just sending a request, like a broadcast request. So wherever it hits, so the server which is able to fetch the response, it will start responding. Okay, and that response it will fetch, and browser will produce that, and it will show you that. Okay, that is exactly what is happening. In the same manner, when we talk about APIs, that's exactly what is happening. Okay, so basically, like, as we spoke about the weather report, now you cannot expect that all the website which is showing you the weather report are all going to, just go and install all the sensors and places and fetch you the data. First of all are not authorized to do that. I mean even if they even think of doing it, but for these kind of stuffs, they are supposed to get some authorization from some authorized no entity or some organization. Okay, so now meteorological departments, they are authorized to get the meteorological data. Okay, not everybody. So they are authorized to get the data, they get the data, as well as when they get the data, it's like they make a point that they will be installing these devices at corresponding places, okay, some given locations. They even make the point of maintaining those devices. So it's all getting done by them, okay, and they are fetching the data, they are keeping the data in their website. Now, if they are keeping the data in their website, then how come all these web apps, or not web apps, all the weather report apps are getting the data? How they are able to show it? So basically, these people, whoever is creating the weather report apps, they are sending requests to this given website, which is collecting the data, and as a response, they are getting the data. Okay. Now, when we talk about these data, now another thing that comes in picture is JSON, because we know that most of the data transfer is nowadays happening in JSON format. Even there are other formats like XML, but JSON is one of the preferred one. Okay, so when we talk about data transfer, this is one of the preferred format. Okay, now when we talk about JSON, or when we talk about these data transfer, another thing that comes in picture should be this serialization and deserialization. Okay, so you already are aware of these two terms also, right? So when we talk about serialization, remember that data transfer is best done in some given format. I mean, just understand that every format is not supporting every other task. Okay, so sometimes when you have to and if you don't understand this in this manner, just understand that sometimes when you have to upload your documents in some given website, they will say, right, you have to compress it, no like you have to compress it in zip form, or maybe rar form, or maybe in a compressed PDF form, right? They don't accept in every other form. Maybe you try to upload in JPG form, and they will say, no, this is not supported, you have to convert it. So that means for some given purpose, you have to change your format. Okay, so in the same manner, when we talk about data transfer, there are some formats which is preferred. Okay, now when we talk about serialization, we are trying to convert the, I mean, now since we are concerned with Python code, right? So consider that your entire code, or the data that is lying in your code, is in the form of Python. Okay, now you have to transfer it. So that time when you are transferring it, you're not going to transfer it as it is. Okay, so what you're going to do, you first of all convert it, you convert it in some other format, so maybe JSON. Okay, so now this, when you are doing, that is exactly what you call serialization. Okay, and in the same manner, when you are fetching data from some other website, it might be coming in JSON form. Okay, now in your code, you know in which format it is, right? So you will try to convert it back to Python in order to know, like if you have to display that data in your code, or you have to do some further calculation in that, or anything, if further processing anything is required, you have to do it and convert it in a compatible manner, right? So that you can perform whatever processing you want to do. So that time what you do is what you call deserialization. Okay, so this is actually the base of APIs. Okay, so APIs are just for the purpose, I mean, consider it more like a waiter. Okay, it's just that it is going to take your response, take your request, provide to the server, and from there it is going to fetch the response and provide it back to you. Okay, APIs are only for the sake of the to and fro motion. Okay, from where it is just going to get the data, and this data transfer among the like server client is all happening through APIs. That's all you have to understand. Okay, and for that, whatever processors are involved, that also just keep in mind. Okay, so on a overall basis, this is what you mean by APIs. Now when we come to Django, no, in order to deal with APIs, there is you can consider it more like a toolkit. Okay, so let me show you that. So if you look at this is Django REST framework. Okay, so if you just read over here, it is said that Django REST framework is a powerful and flexible toolkit for building web APIs. So basically, there is, I mean, Django is providing you with the toolkit, okay, which is which is expertise, or which is particularly for this purpose. In the sense, nowadays, if you look at the fact, most of the web framework or most of the web applications and all are like inclined towards the APIs, okay, use of APIs. And the reason is quite simple. As I said, there are, I mean, and nobody is going for becoming self-sufficient by themselves, okay, like doing anything and everything from scratch. Nowadays, what we are trying to do is whatever we can fetch from some other website, which is like maybe providing things in an easier manner. Maybe publicly they are ready to broadcast their data, or they are ready to release their data. So we are rather going to request them and get the data, rather than doing all the provision from the very scratch to get the data by ourselves. No, we are not going to do that. And so APIs have become one of the major component in that factor. Now REST is again kind of a framework, okay, so which is going to help us with doing this. Okay, so let's do that. And for that, since we are going with this, we have to do some installation, and we have to even for this purpose we'll create a separate new project. Okay, and yeah, just have a look like what all prerequisites you should be following if you are going to work on this. Okay, so prerequisite, so here you can see some requirements. Okay, so here it is suggesting the Python version and the Django version that it is supporting. Okay, so make sure whenever you are dealing with some given things, say for example, now this is a toolkit which is used mainly when it comes to APIs, right? So if you are dealing with this, make sure that you have the required Python and Django version installed in your virtual environment. Okay, and then and only then you can work with this. Okay, understanding, right? So here you can tell me like what version of Django is required, and tell me like what version of Django we generally are using. Do you know? You know, right? If I don't mention the version of Django while installing, by default it goes for the latest one, right? And if you see, the latest one we have is Django 3.2.6. Okay, and here what is the requirement? I mean, what they are saying, that what a version of Python and Django is being supported. Can you see?
At least 2.2 Django.
Yeah, so for Django, no, it is saying 2.2 is possible, like it works, 3.0 works, and 3.1 works. Okay, so now that means if I want to use this, I mean, if I want to make use of the REST framework, then I should have a version which is at least 3.1. I cannot go beyond that. Okay, so we'll do one thing, we'll create a no virtual environment in which I'm going to install 3.1. Now we, when it comes to Python, we have 3.9, so it is anyhow supported, so we cannot, I mean we need not be bothered about that. Okay, we can just skip that part. And then what we have to do, here it is mentioned that we have to install this thing. Okay, so just understand that these two are like additional stuff. If even if you don't get it, it's fine, because if you find, I mean, if you go through this document, no, you'll find that there are like n number of examples that they have given. So we are not going with any of these examples, we are just making use of what we require in order to get our project done. So our project will be a simple one, wherein we are just going to make use of API. Okay, but it is like You remember yesterday when, I mean, not yesterday, on Friday when we were using the CRUD operations, no? It was like we were getting the data, right? But then again, it was like for everything we were writing like separate views, and it was quite complicated. So that same thing we can do in a simpler manner using APIs. And as of now, we won't go for all the operations, though we can do that. Okay, we will in fact do that, but anyhow, today we'll just focus on a single operation in the simplest manner. All we are going to do is we'll have something called, we will first of all create a model, okay? And we'll have our view. And from our view, we are supposed to get the data from the model, but through APIs, okay? That's what we are going to do. And you'll find that there is another concept which is going to come in picture, okay? So another concept that is going to come in picture is what we call the serializer, okay? So there is going to be a serializer component, okay, which is part of REST framework. Okay, so this REST framework, which is nothing but a toolkit used for dealing with APIs, in that there is a component called serializer. Okay, now serializer again comes in different form, in the sense there is model serializer, okay, and there is hyperlink model serializer. Okay, so these serializers are nothing but a component which is used for performing these two stuff. Okay, it basically performs both serialization as well as deserialization. So using serializer, what you do is you mention to, if you're using the model serializer, no, model serializer. So model serializer is just same as what we have with the model form, no, same. It is just same as that. So model serializer will be referring to a given model, okay? And what it will do is it will, while fetching the data, it will convert it into Python object, and it will take, okay, and while sending it back, it will again convert it back, and it will be sending it back. Okay, but as of now we only have one way process to do, but then again we'll be making use of serializer because we are making use of the REST framework in our code. Okay, understanding or anything getting confusing for you? Hmm? Is it understandable to all of you? Hmm? Or do you, or maybe wait, I'll do one thing. We'll start writing the code, then maybe things will become a little more clear for you. Okay, so let's do that. Let me open my Visual Studio Code. The thing is, you don't have to write these many lines of code. As I said, this is one complicated manner of doing things. Okay, so if you don't want to complicate things, you can avoid it, but by using APIs. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly what we are going to do. And there are some public APIs, of course, because you already got to know one fact, that is the no, like so many websites are making use of public APIs. That is the reason they are getting the data, right? The reason that I said no, they are getting data from other websites, that is because the data is publicly accessible, right? So they have public APIs through which they can do it. Now let's create a this one, virtual environment. Okay, so how to create virtual environment? So Python -m, this module. So venv for virtual environment, and name I can put API env. Even this is one practice which you should bring. Okay, the environment name, no, try to keep it something which is more relevant, so that even after like how many days also you look at this, no, it makes more sense to you. Okay, so it is getting created. Okay, done. Once it is created, let's activate it. So we have API env slash, we have the scripts folder inside that. Then we have activate script. Okay. Okay, now it is activated. Once it is activated, you know that freshly created no, the environment will be empty, right? It doesn't have anything. So better start installing. So what we have to install, we have to install Django, but make sure that we are installing either of these three versions that we can do it. Okay. For REST framework, what three versions it is supporting? It is supporting 2.2, 3.0, and 3.1. Okay. So we'll install one of them and we'll better to go for the latest one, which is 3.1. Okay. So pip install Django equals to 3.1. Okay. So let it happen. And then, yeah, so just remember after installing that, no, we have to install even Django REST framework. Since we are making use of it, the serializer, all those things, no, all those provisions are coming along with the REST framework. So if you have to make use of it, you have to better install this. Okay. Just no, take all these things as like something which is already ready made. Okay, so if you have to use it, so you have to install some additional stuff. Okay, just the way we are using framework. Why we are using framework? We can do things without frameworks as well, but it's just that you have to like put more effort, you have to write more lines of code. You remember, right? Yesterday, when we were working on the CRUD operation, that time there were some methods that we were using, right? So the get object, the get object or 404, that method, in order to see whether an object is existing, or the redirect method, or the objects dot all. Okay, so those things were actually easing out our work. You could, I mean, we didn't have to like define any method to make use of that. So in the same manner, REST framework is a framework which is used for this purpose specifically. Okay, so that's the reason we have to like we have to install it as well. Okay, so let's do that. We'll straight away install it. Pip install Django REST framework, right? Here it is mentioned, just this one. Okay, Django REST framework. I'm not going to copy it. I can, but never mind. Django REST framework. Okay. Okay. Now it is done. Now let's. What we should do is let's create a project. Okay. So you know how to create a project, right? So Django admin space start project, and project name we can give as simple as API project. Okay, my project got created. Once it is created, I can just go inside my project. Okay, so cd API project. And you know by now that on its own, just my project, I cannot do anything worthwhile. So what I should do is I should create an app as well. Okay, so let's create an app. So Python manage.py start app. So I can mention the name as API app. Okay. Yeah, done with that. My app also got created. So here, if I look inside this, I can see my app. Okay. Now there is one thing. Okay. Can you tell me what is the first step? Anybody? Generally, whenever we install some app, what should be the first step?
Add the app.
Yeah, we have to add it in the settings.py file. Okay, apart from that, if you just see, since we installed that Django REST framework, right? So we have to even add this. Okay, this one line, that is REST underscore framework in our installed apps. Okay, So let's even do that. So let's go back to, yeah, and where is my install apps? Yeah, here. So we have to add both those things. That is, one is rest underscore framework, okay, and another one is our app name, which is API app. So it is just like, as I said, whenever you are having some, now here it is mentioned that whenever you are installing that Django REST framework, since you are going to make use of, maybe you will be doing some imports. Okay. So now if you have to import from this given app, you have to mention it, right? And apart from that, since you are creating some app and your project should be aware that it is part of your project, so you have to mention it in your installed apps. Once you are done with this, make sure you save it. Okay. Now that is done. What next do we have? Okay. So whenever we create app, we generally go next for the this one, right? View. We generally go for creating a view. But since, as I said, that what we have to do is we have to get some data from a model. Okay. So first thing, we'll better to go for creating a model. Okay. So let's do that. Let's create a model. Okay. Plus, what can I give name? I can give a name as maybe employee. Okay. And it has to be a subclass of models dot model. Okay. And what all things can we have here? So as usual, we can have name. So I can say name is nothing but models dot char field. Okay. And we can set a max length. So max length can be maybe 10. Then what we can have now, name and name, maybe contact next. Contact maybe contact number. Okay, contact number, and I can just mention it as models dot integer field. Okay, integer field. Okay, done with this. Again, what do we have? Okay, maybe country, though it might not be general case, but then again, anyhow, where we bother generally about general cases, we are just doing it for learning purpose, right? So models dot again maybe Carfield, country name can be Carfield, right? Okay, done with this. Now we can have our string method. Okay, so define underscore string. So we have the self parameter here. It should return me self dot name. Okay, done with my model. Okay, so created a model. With that, models part is over, I believe, right? Now I want to see my model in the admin page. What next? If I want to see my model in admin page, then I should do the registration, right? So yes, from dot models import employee. Okay, and let's do the registration. So registration is admin dot site dot register, and in bracket you have to mention your model name, which is employee. Okay, so done with this as well. Yeah, now most of the things are done. Now remember, since I have done the registration and all, this is fine. But if you remember, to create all these tables and all, I should run some commands, right? Okay, so yeah, let's do that. And also remember one thing, since this is a new project, I still, I mean, I don't have a super user created. Okay, so even I have to create that as well. Otherwise, I won't be able to access the admin site. Okay, so first thing, let me run the command which is required for models. Okay, so Python manage.py. I can run the make migrations first. Make migrations. Okay. Employee.country care field. Oh, I didn't give max length or what? Okay, here it is expecting me to provide max length. I didn't provide. So here I can provide max length, maybe 8 characters. Okay, let's save this. Okay, let's run migrations. Okay, now it has created the file. Okay, and the model can be created. So let's go for the next command, which is migrate. Okay, so yes, migrate. Okay, if you remember, I didn't run migrate for the first time, right? If you remember, whenever we run the server for the first time, you get that 18 unapplied migrations and all, right? Since we never run the we haven't run the server till now, we never got the error, and so we didn't run the migrate command first. Okay, otherwise we would have run that migrate command, and the user model and those that group model would have been created. Okay, but anyhow, that doesn't matter. It is fine if even if it gets created now. Now I have to even go for creating the super user, because I have to, of course, whenever I'm going to do some entry in my models, I have to do it through the admin page, right? I mean, first thing is to check whether the API works or not, right? So yes, I have to go for creating my super user. So Python manage.py create super user. Password. Okay, done with this. Now what? I have created my model. I have created my admin. Now tell me, since we have to perform, I mean, you remember, right? When we deal with APIs, right? So we are not going to fetch the data directly in the same format as in whatever the way it is getting stored in a database. Okay, we have to convert it. Okay, so this conversion and all is happening through something called the serializer. Okay, so for that we have to have some serializer in place. Okay, so I think we will get the serializer in this section, serialization section. Okay, so there is some documentation on that. Well, I'm not going to read the entire stuff. The reason is well, lack of time. That is the only reason here. Anyhow, the thing that I want to show you here is again the fact that when we are dealing with something like some standards. Okay, now you know that when we went for some given files and folders, I might have many a times told you that you have to stick to the name, right? So in the same manner here also, when we have to create the serializer, no, it has to be created in a file named serializers.py. so again, name matters. If I change the name to something which I prefer, it may not be able to, Django may not be able to detect it. Okay, so the thing which I'm expecting to do, it may not happen in the same manner. Okay, so make sure that you have this named file, okay, which is serializers.py. Okay, and that has to be there inside the app folder. Okay, getting it right? So let's have it. So in my app folder, okay, this is my app folder, and there I want a file named serializers.py. Okay, understand, just it is going like step by step. So we already got our model in place. We have registered it with admin. So this was like very normal. Now, if you have to get your data from your model in your Django project, okay, so that time in between there has to be some conversion. So that is being done by serializers, okay. And again, remember that serializer is something which is coming from the REST framework, okay. So you'll find one fact about this, that is, whenever you have serializer in your project, you have to do some import from the REST framework, okay. So yeah, let's do that. So from REST, remember the name that we are mentioning over here is the same name what we provided in the settings.py file, okay, this thing, REST underscore framework, okay. So yes, REST underscore framework, okay, import serializers, okay. This is one thing that we require. And since we are going to create a model serializer, which is going to make use of a model, or say, which is going to refer to a model. So next thing is we have to import the model, right? So dot models import, what was our model name? Employee, right? Okay. Again, as I said, it is going to look a lot similar to the model form. Okay, so first thing is it is going to be a class, understandable. I can mention a name which is employee serializer. Okay, the name is immaterial. Okay, this name, this you can keep anything, not the name of the file. File name has to be the same. Name of the class can be something which you prefer, and whatever we are going to mention inside is again which you have to take care, which has to be exactly the same. So serializers dot model serializer, and again please make sure that you notice this fact that M is capital, again for serializer R, I mean sorry, S is capital, okay. Model serializer, okay, and it is model serializer, okay. Again we have the meta class, okay, which is nothing but an inner class wherein you mention the metadata, that is which model it is supposed to refer to. So model we have employee, okay, and what all fields we are taking into consideration. So what all fields related data that we might require, okay. So fields equals, we have all the fields into consideration, okay. So yes, fine, this is again fine. Let's save this. So this is part of our serializer. So till now we have only covered till here. The next thing that we have to do is go for a view, right? I mean, you know that whenever you are dealing with Django framework or anything, I mean, it is like whatever you are going to see at the UI is all going to happen through the views, right? So of course you have to create a view. So yeah, let's create a view. Yeah, now there is a change in the sense, till now we have always discussed about the function-based views, right? So you will find that if you go for the this one, no, the REST framework, you will see that another thing that comes with REST framework is a class-based view. Okay, so this time ahead, what we are going to do is we are going to make use of a class-based view. And if you come across this, no, there is another thing about class-based views. Okay, so here there are like so many views which is specifically for these what do I say, the APIs. Okay, so you will find that there is a collection of views which are termed as generics. Okay, this there, right? Generic views, yeah. So like which is having some particular function, okay. You will find that these views are having some particular function, and there are like n number of such views, okay. So can you see create API view, list API view? The reason we are making use of this is again for the purpose of making things simple. In the sense, it is already created with some given purpose. You can just make use of it without having to define it from the very scratch. So if you want to create API, so only for creating purpose, okay? Or if you want to just list out the API, I mean, the not APIs, the list out the elements or objects that is there in a given model. So you can go for the list API. Okay. So these are all actually based on the different things, the CRUD operations that you can do on a given table. Okay. Or say in a given database. Okay. So what all you can do, you can create something, you can list out something, you can retrieve some given data, or you can delete something, or you can update. So for all those things, okay, there are some views already customized. Okay, already created for you. You can just make use of them, and that's exactly what we are going to do. Okay, so yeah, for that sake, what we are going to use is what we call a class based view. Okay, again, it is something which is already created. So like, I mean, there is a view which is already created inside the generics. Generics can be considered more like a collection of views. Okay, class based views. Okay, so we are going to create a subclass for that, so that way we can make use of it. Okay. Okay, I think we can just proceed now. So from rest underscore, I don't know why it is not coming. This is something really annoying. I mean, you will feel like that it is giving some error, right? Just because it is showing it this way, but it still works. I don't know why it has to be like this. I think this ID is not smart enough. Okay. From there, I have to import what we call generics. Okay. So the spellings and all, please make sure that you are writing correctly. Otherwise, it may not work. Now, since we have created a serializer, that has to be here. So serializers, okay, import. What do we need to import? What was our serializer name? Employee something, right? Yes, let's have it here. Then what do we have from models? So what do we need from models? We need to import our model, which is nothing but the employee model. Okay, so these are some of the things that we need. Now let's create our class based. First time we are creating, right? So our class based view. So we have class, we have to provide some name, so we can just mention employee view. Okay, and generics. So from generics, we are going to like I mean, generics can be, as I said, it's like a module or a collection. Okay. So from there, we are making use of another class, okay, which is specific for a given purpose, which is listing APIs. Okay. So list API view. This is again a class-based view. Okay. Okay. So our view, our class is which is employee view is going to be a subclass of list API view. Okay, so you might have already seen this name over here, right? List API view was there, right? This one, can you see? You use for read only endpoints to represent a collection of model instances. So you know what it is going to do. It is basically going to enlist all those entries that we have made in a given model. Okay, so that is only that is going to happen using this given API. Here we have to provide two things. One is query set. Again, this name is no, it is like a standard. You cannot change the name. Okay, so under query set, what you mention is what you want to see. Okay, so I want to see with respect to employee. To get all the objects, I should mention objects dot all. Okay, so this is something we have already done, right? Then we have to mention the serializer class. Okay, serializer and make sure the spellings are correct. These parameters, as I said, it's standard parameters. Okay, I cannot change the name. So serializer class we have as our employee serializer. Okay. Well, that's it. This is what we require to provide here. Now you might be thinking, right? For this given view, I didn't mention any return, any render statement. Can somebody tell me why I didn't mention that? Like, I mean, whenever I was creating a view, I was generally mentioning some return, render, right? This time I didn't mention any of those things. So why didn't I do that? The differences are in front of you. Can you figure it out? I mean, just look at it. It's a class-based view, first of all. Earlier, what we had was a function-based view. And you know that return statements are written for functions, right? Here, I don't have a function-based view, first of all. Secondly, it's a class-based view. And it is, again, you can see it very well that there is an inheritance concept which is being used. So this view that I'm creating is going to be a subclass of list API view, okay? And here what we are providing two things. Query set, what is it is supposed to display. So it is supposed to display all the entries that is made to the employee model. Secondly, which serializer class it is going to refer to in order to do the serialization, deserialization, which is required. So it is going to make use of the employee serializer, which is a model serializer, which was defined for this given purpose. Okay. So till now, this is going fine. Now this is again an advantage with the like when you are going for the class based views. Okay, the advantage is that you don't need to go for HTML files and all. Okay, now with these ones, no, which are like predefined, you get the provision of getting a actually much better looking HTML file. Okay, so we'll see the how the view is going to appear. Okay, now the next thing that we have to do is, since we are done with the view, next thing should be URL mapping, right? So first thing is, you know already that in apps we don't have the URL file, right? So let's create one. So urls.py, okay, and even we have to do the required change in API project URLs file, right? And yeah, I also would like to show you something. Let me first of all copy this. Let me have it over here. Okay. Let me even close this. Okay. So I can actually, first of all, let me add it the no URL, which is a URLs file, which is belonging to my app. Okay. So path in bracket, I should mention the API app. Okay. I mean, this is just simplicity. For simplicity's sake, I always mention the API, I mean, the app name. Okay. It is all up to you whether you want to mention it this way or you want to mention some other name. Okay. Include, inside include, I should mention API app dot URLs, right? Okay, done with this. Let's have the additional comma as well. Let's save this. Yeah, what I wanted to show you is, have you ever noticed what is mentioned in these comments? If you see, there is a mention like if you have function based view, then how the URL pattern will be looking like. If you have a class based view, then how it will be looking like. So just have a look. It is a bit different, right? So if you look at this part, okay, it's quite different, right? So just see how it is. So when we are having the class-based view, this is how it should be appearing. Okay. So make sure that when you are going for doing changes here, you should do accordingly. So first thing, let's do the required import. So from dot import use, okay, and here I can mention maybe as API and view views dot, what was the view name? View name was maybe employee view, is it? Right. So dot as underscore views, right? Something like that, right? Not able to recollect. Okay, it was like that. Underscore views, or maybe view. It is underscore view, right? Okay. And it is really depending on you whether you want the name parameter or not. Here it is again like optional, but it's fine. API. So I believe that we are done with it. Okay. So all we did was from the very beginning, if you see, first thing we did, anyhow, we created a project. Okay. We created the project. We created an app. We have done an installation, which is the installation for the Django framework. Okay. Django REST framework. We have installed that. The moment we installed this, and afterwards only we created the app, right? So anyhow, what we had to do was we had to add these two lines. Basically, one is for your app, another one is because you did the installation of Django REST framework. You had to have this line, which is REST underscore framework, in your installed apps. Once we are done with this, then the next thing that we did was, since we are supposed to fetch the data which is going to be stored in our database, so what we had to do was, first of all, since you know that anything getting stored in a database means it is going to be stored in a table, so you had to create the model first, and we did the same. We created a model. Once we create the model, we generally have the tendency of adding it, or say registering it with the admin page. So that was the next thing that we did. We have registered it with the admin page. Done with that. Now you know that it's all going to be, now the way you store data in a model is not in the same form as Python, right? It's not done in that way. So if you are going to fetch that data in your Django project or in your Python code, then you cannot do it in the same form, right? So then there has to be some additional stuff in between, right? Some additional block. So the additional block we have is serializer. Okay. So this is the one which is going to help us do both things. Actually, it is going to perform both serialization and deserialization. But in our case, it's only going to perform one-way process, because only that is required for this given application. Okay. So serializer is again, which is coming as part of REST framework. So first of all, do the required import. Since we are going for model serializer, it is same as like creating a model form. Okay. So you have the class, you create a class, and you provide some name, which is going to be a subclass for model serializer. You mentioned the metadata, and when you're mentioning the metadata, which is nothing but a meta class, in that you mention the model with respect to which you are going to perform all this serialization, deserialization, what all columns you are going to refer to. So you are going to refer to all the fields, then mention that. Once you are done with this, the next thing is, of course, you have to create a view. Now, when you're going for the REST framework, you generally have the tendency to go for the class-based view. Okay. Now you have like multiple pre-created class-based views which you can make use of. Okay. And it is belonging to the generics. You can consider it more like a collection or a module, however you call it. Okay. And in that, I mean, this generics is again belonging to the REST framework. Okay. So what you do is you create a class-based view, which is going to be a subclass of list API view, which belongs to the generics. Okay. And here you provide two parameters. One is query set. Inside query set, you mention what exactly are you going to display using that view. Okay. So you're basically going to fetch all the entries that is done to the employee model. Okay. That is one thing. Second thing, what what serializer is going to do the serialization, deserialization required for your application. So that also you mention. Okay. So that's it. Now that we are done with this, the next thing what we did was doing the URL mapping, which is a given, right? Only thing is that there is a difference how you are doing it. So generally we just mention views dot the view name, right? Here there is an addition, okay, that is dot as underscore view. Okay, this is an addition which you are doing whenever there is a class based view. Okay, for a function based view you don't need to do it. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And rest, you know what you have to do here in project base. I mean, in project, what addition you have to do, you know it already, right? It's all like bridging a path. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's run the server. So python manage .py run server. Okay. So first thing, no, let's add some entries in your um, model. Otherwise there is nothing which is going to be fetched. Okay, so let's do that first. Okay, there is my model. Let's add some employees. um, Country. Okay. Country something. Okay, I think this is enough. Okay, so now I got around 4 entries. Now I'm going to fetch these things, not from here, but from my application. Okay, so let's do that. So let me first of all copy this much part. Okay, let's do that. Control C. Let's go here. Control E. Okay, let's see what do we. Oh, I am in admin page or what? Sorry. Okay, here we have to go to the API app. Okay, API app, and oh, it took me to API. Can you see how it is appearing? And do you remember me creating any HTML file? Have you seen me doing anything like that? No, right? And can you see that these data is just what I entered a few minutes back? I mean, it is not even a few minutes, right? Just now I entered these four data in my table, right? Can you see? All of them are being displayed, and just look at the way the page is appearing. It's so nice, right? I mean, it is as if that somebody has taken all the pain and no design this page, right? But frankly speaking, did you find me do any of those things? Did you find me do any hard work, any effort? It hardly took me to write that view, right? I mean, I didn't create any HTML file. All the view is only 3 lines, right? I mean, it requires some imports, but apart from that, it is like 3 lines of code, right? But then again, if you look at this, it looks so good, right? So this is the advantage of using whatever is like pre-existing. It is pre-configured, and this is because of the list API view, which is the view through which we have done the subset, right? We created a subclass, right? Which is the employee view. Employee view is a subclass of the list API view, and that's the reason this looks so good. Okay, and the data, I mean, just imagine the data is appearing in my web page, right? And it is, I mean, I can even have it in a different form, right? Let's see. So there is JSON form. Can you see? I'm able to get the data in a JSON format as well. So these are all what is, I mean, whatever is happening here is because of the serializer. Okay, The formatting is happening because of the serializer. Understanding? So even if I have to, consider that some other website is going to ask or request for this given data, I can pass this data in the JSON format because of the serializer that I have. Okay, so you can see that making use of that serializer has given me another format of the data. Okay, apart from the normal way how it generally appears in this form, I do have a provision to get it in a JSON format, which can be now transferred. The reason is when you have a HTML file, though, it takes more it takes more time to like transfer, and even that format is not very good when it comes to the bandwidth consumption and the speed and all. Okay, when you have so many criteria to look into, that is not a convenient way of sending data. Okay, yeah, if you have to send images and all, then that's a different case. But if you are only concerned about the data part, you really don't require to send an HTML file. Okay, so this would be a preferred way of sending. And here you are actually getting all the data, right? You're getting the ID, you're getting the name, contact number, country ID, and you can manage to get the data, and whichever way you want to store it or display it, you can do it. Okay, and that's the beauty of it. Understanding, all of you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, so this is how the APIs comes into picture. Now, I did speak about some public APIs, right? Have you seen any public API, by the way? Any of you? Have you people seen public API? In fact, you have at least, if I say no, that even GitHub has public API. You know that? So if I go for API, okay, I think this itself. Can you see the way the data is appearing? And even if I keep changing here, no, now this is some trial purpose I have given. If this is my original, okay, I gave wrong name. Okay, so just by changing the username here, no, I can get like for different accounts. Okay, now I can only think of my name. Okay, so I ask for your forgiveness. So if I just do some variation here, so you can see the names, which is, the people who are having account with a given username, you can get the data for all of them, just like this. Yeah, that's different. That there are some profile based information like the company name or name, location and all. Now this actually depends on a person who has updated their account, okay, their profile well. If you haven't updated it, you may not get all those data. Now since after no, after having a look at this, I have done some updation in mine, so you can find these data in mine. Okay, so you can see, right, the name, company name, location, these things earlier were coming as null only for me too, but now it is coming in a bit more better way, right? And you can see, even if you can tell me your username, no, I can just find out your how it is going to appear for you. Okay, so this is what we call a public API. Can you see everything? The data, only data part. Okay, it's not giving the other things, but just the data part. Like, say for example, like how many public repos I'm having, or when my account was created. Okay, or now these, like company, what is my location. So these data, if I want from a given website, I can get it. These data, I don't need image for this purpose, right? So this is what generally APIs are used for. Okay, and even the weather report and all what I'm talking about now, even that is going to appear in this similar manner. Okay, so it is fine, right? If temperature, humidity, moisture, it is going to appear in this manner. You can just fetch the data. If you want to present it in a tabular manner, you can do it. You fetch the data, you represent it in however way you want. Okay, but this is best when you want to like transfer data from website to website, so that way it doesn't consume more bandwidth and you get the data immediately, right? So yes, what now we are going to do is we are going to make use of this given API, okay, which is a public API, and we are going to create another app which is going to fetch data based on the URL or the username that we are going to provide. Okay, so you can see very well here that the moment I'm changing the username, it is going to provide me a different page or the data of a given user, whatever name I'm providing here. For that user, it is providing me the data, right? So making use of this kind of like public API. Now this is the public API for GitHub. Okay, making use of this, I can also like incorporate it in my application and get the data for any user. Okay, I can do that. So let's create an application which does something sort of that. Okay, so anyhow, I'm not going to create another project, but rather what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of the same project, only app can be changed, right? So that's exactly what we are going to do. We'll have a different app. Okay, so let this thing be as it is for time being, and even this models and all I don't require. Okay, because now I'm not going to fetch any data from any model, right? I'm just going to fetch data from a given public API. Okay, so first thing, let's create a app. Okay, so Python manage.py start app get API, or even get app also I can give, anyhow, get API. Okay, the app got created, right? It is quite difficult when so many things are open, right? Find out which exactly I am referring to. Okay, here is my app. Now, first thing, whenever I'm creating an app, first thing is to update here. So let's do that. Get API. Okay, and by default, I should even put that comma. Okay, so better to keep some habits. Okay, done with this first thing. Now next, what do we need? Now since we already know, like we don't need to do much because the public API is already available to us. So we'll do one thing, we'll straight away go for creating the views first, okay, and then we'll come across the URL mapping and all. Okay, so let's see, where is my get API app? Yeah, views. Okay, so yeah, now there is one more thing. Okay, so you might find that whenever we are dealing with APIs, no, like in Python codes as well, there is one thing that we generally have a tendency of installing as well as importing. Okay, there are two things you have to do, install as well as import, and that is nothing but what we call requests. Okay, so whenever you have to request some like for some given API and all, right? So you do it through the given request. Okay, request is a you can consider it as a module which is belonging to Python for the sake of doing this API calls, requests and responses. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. First of all, I'll do the installation. Okay, so pip install install requests. Okay, requests. Okay, let it happen. Okay, now that it is done, we have to import. I'll do one thing, I'll remove this. Okay, so unnecessary confusion. Import requests. Make sure it is request, not request. Okay, so yes. Done with the installation, successfully installed, right? Yeah, good. Now I think I can move ahead with the installation, I mean the code part. Okay, so now in code what we have to do is we have to define a view. Okay, so we are again going for a function based view. Understand that the reason we are going back to function based view is, again, we are not dealing with respect to the we are not making use of the Django REST framework here. We are going with the very simplest form, which even can be used in case of what we call for a simple Python program also you can write this. Okay, you don't need to even go for Django. Okay, these requests, no, you can make use of it even in Python codes as well. So let's do that. So define GitHub. It is going to take in request. Okay, and oh, I didn't mention colon. You people didn't notice or what? So we have something called the user. Okay, and yes, we have some if condition, and we do have some HTML file. Okay, for this purpose we do need that. Okay, so let's do this quickly. User name equals sorry, if username in what do we call the request dot get. Now here the get no that we are referring to is actually going to be a get method which will be used in our HTML file. Okay, so it is like in our HTML file we'll be trying to type in some username. From there it is supposed to get it. Okay, so once it gets it, it will try to modify that given URL based on the username what we are providing there, okay, in that HTML file, and accordingly it is going to fetch the data. Okay, so let's do that. Equals request dot get, and we have to provide the username. So this is like we are temporarily providing a like a variable. Okay, creating a variable which is going to hold the username whatever you are providing as and when you are providing in the HTML file. Or else let me do one thing. Let me just type in the entire thing and then I'll tell you what you have to do. Okay, or what it means. Otherwise, no, I'll be more distracted kind. So let me have this control C. Though I don't need the last one. Anyhow, I can just not remove it. Okay, this part is not required because this is going to be changing, right? So yes, depending on what username somebody is going to provide, it is going to vary. Okay, so username, and we have, once you have this one, once you make a request, so how you're going to make the request? You are going to make request using request dot, there is this get method in which you are going to provide the URL, okay, from where you want to make the request, and where you're going to keep your this one response. Okay, response. So you might notice that here instead of the serializer, this JSON method is what you are using, okay, for doing the required conversion. Okay, and now we have the return statement. Okay, so return render. So here we have HTML file. First thing request, then we have, oh, I always mention the spelling wrongly, right? Request. Then we have the HTML file github.html. Okay, and then we have the context, right? So we have user, which is going to refer to the user. Okay, yes, this is done. Okay, I think I mentioned everything correctly over here. I'll do one thing. I'll do the this one. Okay, afterwards I have to even have the template. Okay, I think there is few things that I need to do. Okay, let me just copy this part, and Okay, even here also I need to make changes, right? To add the git one, git app. So path, it should have the git app is git API, right? Git API slash. Make sure you mention that slash include. If it is the final one, no, then it is fine. But if you are going to have like further some new or like some more views are there, then make sure that you mention the slash. Okay. Here we have git API dot URLs. Okay. And frankly speaking, that file is still not created. Let's save this. And in my git API, here I should create a file which is urls.py. Done with this. Let's paste the one which I copied from there. Okay. I can mention, okay, I cannot mention git API, right? Better to mention maybe git. Okay, so let it be git. What is the view name? This again, okay, GitHub. Here I can put it as git API. Any of this is any optional, you know it by now. Okay, done with this. Now coming to the template part, right? Now that's a deal, right? Okay, so in my base directory, I should have a directory named templates. Okay. I'll do one thing since it's a different app. No, I'll mention. Okay, never mind. Again, I have to make changes to my view, right? So let it be as it is. So I have templates folder here. Now let's go to this one, settings, do the required changes. So the first thing is I need the OS. Okay, let's create a temporary variable, okay, which is template underscore dir. Here it is os dot path dot join in bracket. In bracket I should mention first of all base directory, because we mentioned path based on sorry, with respect to base directory, right? And the name of the templates folder is templates again. So templates. Okay, done with this. Now let's go down to, yeah, you have to mention the variable name here, right? So template underscore dir. Let's save this. Okay, done with this saving and all. Now have to create the file, right? Not yet created. So let's create the file, which is github.html. Okay. Now this is something again. Okay. H1. So I have a heading. I can mention as GitHub API. Okay, project maybe project. Okay, or even app also I could have mentioned. Now mind. Now I have a form over here. Okay, so I'll tell you why I require a form here. Okay, so there is a change of method. So instead of post, which we used to generally use, today we are going to use get. Okay, and we have input. Type is going to be text, and name is going to be what we call username. Okay, don't worry what it is all about. I'll explain you. Okay, so now this button, no, even if you use input, it is fine instead of a button. It is all like one and the same. So you can mention submit. And yeah, there you can mention what is going to be written on that. So submit. Okay, now form is done. Next what we have is we have to have some if condition. Again, it is going to be in Jinja tag. Okay, so it is like whatever name that is going to be provided as username. So it is going to check whether that user exists. Okay, first thing is to check if the user is existing, it is going to write something. Okay, so it is more like, again, ginger tags will come in picture. Okay, so you have user dot username. Now these names, no, whatever we are going to provide here. So user dot username I'm writing, right? So it is going to look for username here. Okay, so do we have anything called username? Okay, it is not username, right? It is name. So I should mention name. Okay, so these parameters are going to be displayed over here. So it is name. Name here itself I'll mention has user, or give a space, user dot public repos, right? How was it mentioned? Public underscore repos, right? Yes, public underscore repos. Okay. And I can mention public repos. So this actually would fetch me the number, because you see, whenever we refer to some key, it basically gives the value. So if I mention public repos, it should give me value 9. Okay, so the sentence which is forming here, it is more like username such and such. Okay, so if I mention my name, it will be Shweta RP6 has so and so, like 9 public repos. Okay, that is what it is going to display. Now, once you have ginger tag, you know that you have opening as well as closing tag, right? So yes, especially when you have the conditions, right? The loops and the conditions and all. So end, if make sure you don't give a space between these two. Okay. So now let's save this. We'll run this, and no, then we'll again come back to this. Okay. The reason is to understand what exactly is happening, why it is happening. Okay, so let's run this. So Python manage.py. What am I writing? Py run server. I did everything right. I mean, views created, the URL mapping done, the HTML file is over, right? Hopefully all, I mean, I have fulfilled all the requirements. Let's see if something is remaining. Hopefully we'll get to know. Get API slash, okay, get what? Can you see how it is appearing? So this is the HTML file. Okay, so let me just make it like this. Can you see? So get API project, and there is this form. Okay, so form, this is where it is expecting this. Okay, this is this block. Okay, so here whatever I type in, it is going to be in the form of a text. Okay, and what I'm providing is going to be referred to as username. Okay, and there is this button which is submit. So let's type in, so you know already you can see from here. Okay, this is my username. Okay, so that is exactly what I'm going to provide over here. Okay, and let's submit. Can you see what it is saying? So if you look at this, you can find that where is the name parameter? Yeah, for name parameter, the name is Shweta, right? And public repos, I have 9. So this is exactly what I'm getting over here, right? See, can you see? Now I'll tell you what exactly is happening. So the moment I am clicking, now understand here, first thing, this tab is nothing but this one, okay, this block. So whatever I'm going to provide in, it is going to be taken in the form of text. Okay, and it is going to be referred to as username. Okay, whatever I'm providing here is going to be referred to as username, because the name parameter says that. then I have a button over here, right? The button is having something written on that, which is submit. Okay. So now understand, in whenever we have form, when you mention some method or action here, it all comes in picture as soon as you click on the button, right? Or the that input type, there also there was a button, right? So here what it is saying, the moment somebody clicks on the submit button, it is going to perform the get method. Okay, it is going to perform the get method. So now this get is going to, where it is again going to refer, like further what action has to happen is going to be referred to through that view. Okay, so let me go to the view. Where is the view? Okay, yeah, here I have my view. Now have a look at this one. Okay, so here I have defined the function, right? The function based view. So it is GitHub. Here we have something called user. User is nothing but a, it is going to be our context. Okay, now what do we have here? So here we are saying that if username in request.get. Now this request.get is same as what we have in this HTML file. Okay, so the moment somebody clicks on this, it is going to go for a request, I mean a get method. Okay, so that value, whatever I'm providing here, it is taken. Okay, it is taken in as a get method. Okay, so that username, it is going to pass to a variable. Okay, it is going to create a variable username, which is going to take in the username which is being provided from here. Okay, then what it is going to do, that variable it is going to use to modify this given URL. Okay, so where there is this percentage s, no, it is going to replace it with this username. Okay, whatever name I'm going to provide here, it's going to replace it with this percentage s. So once it is like it has modified the URL, it is going to send a request. Okay, the request is going to, now when it is going to send a request, the response is going to be stored in this response. Okay, now the response has to be converted. Okay, so it is getting converted and going to be stored in what we call the user. Okay, once it is going to like convert and it is going to store in user, then afterwards what it is doing, it is making use of that object which is going to store it. Okay, and it is going to be more like a dictionary object. Okay, and that's the reason, if you look at this here, if user exists, okay, that means if I provide any name, it may not exist, right? So if that given user is existing, it should provide me that user's a name parameter. Okay, so in a dictionary you can have like multiple parameters, right? The key values, the key, right? So here name is going to be a key. Okay, so for that given dictionary object, what is the name or public repos? Okay, so it is going to fetch those the value for those given keys. Okay, so you can see that if I provide like multiple other keys, I can get values for them as well. And even I can change here. I can try to provide some random stuff. Okay, so let me see. I'll try to provide. Okay, so somebody exists with that name. Okay, so I can just go on rampage. See, can you see? I mean, I'm just changing different names. I am getting some value for each. It may not be the same. Okay, sometimes it may not, because it's not necessary that such and such username exists. Okay, so maybe, okay, something I'm providing. Can you see? It couldn't provide me anything. I mean, it has provided only that part of the sentence which is like static. Okay, it has not provided the values for these things. Okay, and that is because that username did not exist. Okay, it couldn't provide me anything. So can you see? Understanding how things are working over here in this case, it is getting whatever I'm providing here, it is taking it in, and then it is like changing that given URL. Okay, this URL is getting changed accordingly, and from that whatever values or some it is trying to fetch the response. Okay, in the form of a dictionary, and it is assigned to something called user. Okay, what we have here is the user, right? It is fetching that data, providing it to user in the form of a dictionary, and here in that HTML file, it is getting each key. Okay, so for this user, what is the, for this given key, what is the value? Or for this given key, what is the value? Like that, it is getting me the data. Understanding? Huh? Okay, so this is how how people make use of public APIs and fetch data from other websites. Okay, now this is good. I mean, this is quite useful stuff. Okay, now apart from this, there is one more thing that I want you people to do as on today, and that is download something called download Postman. Okay, so Postman is a tool. Okay, so if you go for this website, okay, you can, and even though it is not like you have to download only, and there are ways you can use it from the this given website itself, but then again, it is fine, right, if you can download it in your system. So this like this given software or this given tool is required for the sake of you see, whenever you are dealing with APIs, there are multiple things you can do. One of the things is testing your APIs. Okay, so you can test your APIs using the Postman app, or if you want, you can perform other things like documenting APIs. Like there are n number of things you can do with APIs. Okay, so you can perform all those things using this Postman app. Okay, so download it. Okay, so by default, whatever version here it is showing, no, it is for Windows. So I think there is, can you see here in small it is written download for Mac OS or Linux. Okay, so based on what is your operating system, please make sure you download it in your system and try to explore it. Okay, so I can show you one way of using it. Okay, so what we can do is, when we had the, okay, let's do one thing. Let's have this only then. I'll just move to one step back. Mhm. Okay, let's see what we can do. Or maybe I'll go for the other one. Okay, so let's see our other API. So we had oh, I stopped, right, my this one. Okay, I'll run my server. That's the reason I wasn't getting it. Okay, so where is my API? Not get API, I want to go for the other one. Okay, so I have my API app, right? API app app. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's see that from Postman app. Okay, so here is my Postman app. Okay, yeah, so can you see? Okay, I don't want this release notes. I can go here itself. I'm going to change this one. Okay, and let's have that app, I mean that URL. Okay, so let me have this. Let's copy this and come back. Not here, here. Okay, so if I just mention my API. Okay, so this is my API, right? If I go for now, can you see here there are some methods that we can use. So there is get, post, put, patch, delete. So these are like the HTTP requests. Okay, so if you see, frankly speaking, I don't know I have told you this or not. Let me just quickly, okay, let me do one thing. I'll show you this one first. Okay, so get is like one of the HTTP requests that is sent, okay, when it comes to retrieving some data. Okay, so this is my URL, okay, or say the API which I want to test. If I send it, can you see? It is fetching the same data which otherwise I was getting there. So you can make, I mean, even if you don't want to run your server, you can make use of this in order to check whether things are working fine. Okay. So you can test your APIs through this as well. Okay. So do try that. And in fact, there are multiple other things, right? I mean, it's not just get, sorry, no, it's not just get. There is post, put, patch, delete. So even you can try post. Okay. So I'm trying to do post. Can you see? It is saying method post not allowed. So the fact is, using that API, I could only perform one thing, what was getting the only, I mean, not even specific, but rather on a general basis, I could get data, right? And that is the reason I was only able to perform one of the methods, which was get. If I try to perform any other method, like maybe delete, okay. So let's see. Can you see? It is again saying method delete not allowed. So in the same manner, what you can do is you create your API and try to perform, or you just check what all options are working for you. Okay. And on a overall basis, let me tell you what these options are like. I mean, you should know, right, what these responses are corresponding to. Where is the edit pad? Yeah. So what is this? Let me just come down to, yeah. So you have the CRUD operations, right? So you have create, read, update, and delete, right? So create is nothing but the, I mean, the corresponding HTTP request is post, okay? So when you go for post request, you send a post request, you are basically trying to create. Read or say retrieve. So when you are trying to perform these two things, the request, the corresponding, the HTTP request that you are sending is get, okay? Now for update, no, actually there are two. Update, there can be partial update and there can be complete update, okay? So based on that, it is either put or patch. Okay, when you are going for complete update, you go for put. When you go for partial update, you go for patch. Delete is same. Okay, so delete here as well as there, it is same. At times there is one thing that can be confusing, which is the method that you mention in your form should not be doubted with these methods. Okay, at times that can cause a like confusion, because in case of form, when we mention post, it actually is more like submitting. Okay, so when you in form, you mentioned, right, form, and you mentioned method equals to post. So this is more like you are trying to submit, in the sense this information, whatever you are like passing through your form, has to be like sent to some other structure. So in our case, it would be more like sending to some table, right? So understand that this post has a different meaning, okay? And this is for basically creating. Okay, understand it that way. Though frankly speaking, there also it is actually creating only, but then again, this kind of gets confusing afterwards. So better understand it this way. Okay, here this is working based on the button click. Okay, the moment you click on the button, that's when this is getting activated and the corresponding thing happens. Okay, and there it is like through HTTP request, you are trying to perform these actions. Okay, you are either going for post, you are going to get, or put, or patch, or delete. Okay, it's all based on the HTTP request that you are sending and getting these things done. Okay, I think today it became a little too much. You people are understanding, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just stop the